This episode's a little late. I'm running a bit behind on my production schedule because 4 weeks ago I became a new dad. In this episode of Best Picture, I'm discussing the 1991 winner, Chariots of Fire! It's much more exciting if you say it that way. I found this DVD for sale at a store. I hadn't seen this film since it had originally been released in theaters when I was 11. So really, I needed to see it again. And there it was, sitting in the $4.99 bin. That should have been my first clue. Spoiler alert, he wins. Chariots of Fire, to be absolutely fair, is technically a very adept film. It's beautifully shot and captures the look and feel of Europe between the W's with remarkable fidelity. The soundtrack features one of the most iconic pieces of 20th century movie music. I'm not doing that gag again. The soundtrack features one of the 20th century's most iconic pieces of movie music. And the film is, that's about all it has going for it. Really, it's not that the film is all that bad, but it's not very inspiring. And I think it's supposed to be inspiring. Most sports films are inspiring, or they're comedies, and there's nearly nothing funny about this film. When I look at the other 4 nominees, there isn't one of them that I don't think is more deserving of the Oscar. What were they? Reds, Atlantic City, On Golden Pond, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Gee, I wonder which one I'm going to pick as being the best.
Hint, I was 11 when they came out. It's not On Golden Pond. I kind of think I've got it figured out how this one went wrong. But first, let's take a look at the film. Chariots of Fire is based on a true story, but kinda not. Rather than me spending a bunch of time here and now going into all the little details, why don't you check out the Wikipedia article, which does a pretty solid job of explaining how the film strays from the truth in order to tell a more impactful narrative. That is, if you can call this tepid 2 hours an impactful narrative. Essentially, it's the story of 4 British runners and their journey to the Paris Olympic Games of 1924. Most of the story focuses on the faith-based struggles of Harold Abrams, a Jew, and Catholic Eric Liddell. Liddell, at first, is pressured by his family to give up running and to serve God as a missionary in China. Later, he takes a stand against national pressures and refuses to run in an Olympic heat set to go on the Sabbath. So, let's be clear. He bucks authority, and then bucks a different authority by falling back on the crutch of the previous authority. What kind of message is that? Got it. Window washer is so distracting. Abrams' story revolves around his struggles against anti-Semitism. But frankly, it's some of the most toothless anti-Semitism ever caught on film. Oh, somebody said something mildly racist about him while I was out of the room! Don't let him drag you down, Harold! I just don't think it forwards the cause any. Okay, so here's my thing. In a world where white supremacy is still a very real problem, I don't think it's a particularly realistic, interesting, or even responsible crisis to present your audience where your main character's primary travails are against an agon of backroom prejudice. And Abrams does overcome it with particularly little effort. Yawn! And how's the audience supposed to parse the film's bookends, made up by Abrams' funeral, which takes place in a particularly Anglican-looking Christopher Wren church? What is the film trying to say? Either I don't get it, or it's a fucking mess! Suppose it makes sense. He did marry the Borg Queen, a piece of casting I myself could not get past. Not their fault. Alice Krija did get cast as the Borg Queen over 15 years after this was shot. Now, here's the thing about the film that most leaves me shaking my head. Midway through the movie, Abrams, who has never lost a race, faces Liddell for the first time. And Liddell hands him his ass, which Abrams can hardly bear. Totally setting up the inevitable showdown between the 2 runners in the film's final reel. But it never happens! The movie is writing checks. It has no intention of cashing. Abrams and Liddell never face each other again, which is also true in real life. Why screenwriter Colin Welland would wantonly stray from the facts in service of the narrative on numerous other points, but here, at the film's climax, he leaves it hamstrung in service of reality is beyond me. Having listened to the DVD commentary, and rarely will you find such a self-congratulatory backslapping heap. There is a clear love affair going on with aristocratic Victorian values, which may have something to do with the film's executive producer, the royal-connected Dodi Fayed. If you've forgotten, the late Mr. Fayed was the lover of Lady Diana Spring. Spencer. That's my new favorite expletive. Lady Diana Spencer. Lady Diana Spencer! Ow! Lady Diana Spencer. Dog, Lady Diana Spencer! My point being that this film doesn't really know whether it's coming or going. On one hand, it trades on criticizing the establishment, yet on the other, its main character is a Gilbert and Sullivan singing Cambridge man who can afford to hire a personal trainer. So, if you haven't sensed it, I'm not very excited about this film. Bored, actually. So bored. It's a film with tremendously small scope, trying to be an epic. So how did it win? I blame Ronald Reagan. No, not actually. But conservatism was on the rise at the time, and I think that the neo-Victorian values that are the undercurrent of this film played to the tiny minds of the moral majority and gave this film a leg up on its way to 4 Academy Awards. That, and one more thing. That damned song. Synthesizer music was really in its earliest days, and had yet to be effectively used in film. Vangelis' Chariots of Fire theme was the harbinger of both the film and of a new soundtrack aesthetic. Nobody had really been exposed to music like this, and it was a hit on the top of the Billboard charts before most people had had a chance to see the film. It was a massive hit! Add in 2 other factors, early Walkmans. Okay, for those of you too young to remember Walkmans, they were like early MP3 players. iPods that took cassettes. Cassettes were like these 2-sided rectangular CDs. CDs. Lady Diana Spencer! Forget it. Add in 2 other factors, early Walkmans and the nascent days of the jogging craze. Everyone wanted to go jogging to the sounds of that film about Olympic runners, which made them want to go see the film, which created a false sense of its worth, which made people want to see it, which meant they heard the song over the opening sequence, which inspired them to go jogging while listening to the song. It was like this infinite feedback loop. People still jog to that song today. It's one hell of a piece of music, but it's kind of dated. Vangelis' soundtrack did win him the Best Score Oscar, but it stands out like a sore thumb now. It isn't contemporary to our modern ears, and it's utterly anachronistic to the setting of the film. It's a bloody awful clash that does not stand the test of time. So, in short, did it deserve to win in the context of 1981? No, it didn't. It's clear now, and it should have been clear then. Any of the other 4 nominees would have been a better choice, and I say that thinking, I hate On Golden Pond. Is it a film that the Academy should be embarrassed about? Absolutely, there is no excuse for this film winning Best Picture. Was there a better choice? Do I recommend it? Why would I do that? Download the MP3 to your iPod and go for a jog. Next time, a film featuring what's quite possibly hands down the single best supporting actor performance ever. There's a subtle pun in there that you won't get unless you've seen the film. I'm Kennedy, and this has been Best Picture. Oh, and I'm not alone.
We're at VCon, and the question is, of these 5 films, Reds, Raiders of the Lost Ark, On Golden Pond, Chariots of Fire, and Atlantic City, which is your favorite?
Probably Raiders of the Lost Ark.
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 Raiders of the Lost Ark! Not even Raiders of the Lost Ark?